The red lights flashed across the command center as another star system went dark. Commander Lisa watched the tactical display with growing horror. 12 worlds had fallen to the Void Swarm in the past month. Each time, the pattern was the same. The black ships would appear at the edge of a system, multiply like a virus, then consume everything in their path. Lisa's forearms trembled as she gripped the command rail. Her blue skin had turned pale with fear. The Valari had ruled this sector of space for 3,000 years. They were known for their wisdom, their peaceful ways, and their advanced technology. But none of that mattered now. The swarm was coming, and nothing could stop it. "How many ships do we have left?" she asked her tactical officer. 47 vessels, Commander. The swarm destroyed our main fleet at Corian Prime yesterday. Admiral Vex went down with his flagship. The officer's voice was quiet and sad. Lisa closed her large black eyes. Vex had been her mentor, the one who taught her that all life was precious. He believed in fighting only when necessary and always with honor. The swarm had killed him without mercy, just like they killed everyone else. The Valari were not warriors. They were scientists, artists, and philosophers. Their weapons were designed to disable enemy ships, not destroy them. They believed in capturing enemies, not killing them. This thinking had worked for thousands of years against other civilized species. But the Void Swarm was not civilized. The swarm ships looked like giant insects made of black metal. They moved in perfect formation, like a hive mind controlling every vessel. When they attacked, they did not demand surrender. They did not try to communicate. They simply destroyed everything and moved on to the next target. "Commander, we are getting reports from the outer colonies," another officer said. His green skin looked sick with worry. "The swarm has reached the Tessin system. They estimate 6 hours before total conquest." 6 hours. Lisa felt her hearts beating faster. The Valari Confederation had 12 member species, billions of lives depending on her decisions. The combined fleets of all 12 worlds could not stop this enemy. Their most powerful weapons barely scratched the swarm's adaptive armor. "What about the other galactic powers?" she asked. "The Zenthari Empire? The Crystal Collective? The Zenthari recall their fleets to protect their core worlds. The Collective has gone silent. We think the swarm hit their capital system 3 days ago." The tactical officer's voice was full of defeat. Lisa walked to the great window that looked out into space. In the distance, she could see the lights of refugee ships fleeing the outer colonies. Millions of beings, all running from certain death. The Valari had always protected the weak. Now they could not even protect themselves. An idea formed in her mind. It was desperate and dangerous, but it might be their only hope. "Bring up the Galactic database," she ordered. "Show me the restricted files on the rim worlds." Her officers looked confused. The rim worlds were the edge of known space, where strange and dangerous species lived. No civilized race went there unless they had no choice. "Commander, surely you do not mean to contact them?" her science officer asked. His tentacles moved nervously. "Show me the files," Lisa repeated. The holographic display changed to show a small blue-green planet at the very edge of the galaxy. The data made Lisa's skin crawl. The world was classified as a death planet, a place so dangerous that life should not be able to exist there. But it did exist, and it had produced the most terrifying species the galaxy had ever recorded. Humans. The files described a race that had evolved in constant warfare. Their planet tried to kill them every day, with poisonous air, deadly weather, and massive predators. Instead of dying, they had learned to fight back. They fought their world, their environment, and each other. They turned violence into an art form. Most galactic species avoided humans. They were useful for mining operations on dangerous worlds, because they could survive almost anything, but they were also unpredictable and violent. The few trade agreements with Earth included strict rules about keeping humans away from civilian populations. "Commander, this is madness," her tactical officer said. "The humans are barely civilized. They still wage war on their own kind. They solve problems with violence." Lisa nodded. That was exactly why she needed them. "Prepare a deep space communication array," she ordered. "Maximum power, directed transmission to the Sol system." "Commander, please reconsider." "The science," officer begged. The humans are dangerous. If we ask for their help, we might regret it. Lisa looked out at the refugee ships again. Then she looked at the tactical display, showing the advancing swarm fleets. Her people were going to die anyway. Maybe the humans could save some of them. Maybe they could do what the civilized races could not. "Record this message," she said. "This is Commander Lisa of the Valari Confederation. We are under attack by an enemy called the Void Swarm. Our fleets are destroyed. Our worlds are falling. We need immediate military assistance. We can offer payment in advanced technology and rare minerals." She paused, knowing her next words would change everything. "We know your people are fighters. We know you come from a world that made you strong. Please, if there is any mercy in your species, help us. The coordinates of our home system are attached. Time is running out. The message was sent across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. It would take 6 hours to reach Earth. The same amount of time the Tessin system had before the swarm arrived." Lisa watched the stars and wondered if she had just saved her people or doomed the galaxy. The humans were coming. She just hoped she would live long enough to see what that meant. In the depths of space, the Void Swarm continued its advance. The black ships multiplied and spread like an infection, consuming everything in their path. They had destroyed 1,000 civilizations, and would destroy 1,000 more. But they had never met a species from a death world before. Captain Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the alien fleet burn in the darkness of space. His ship shook as another explosion lit up the void. The battle had been raging for 2 hours, and it was not going well for anyone except the enemy. The Void Swarm had arrived at the Valari home system just as the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Kim had brought 3 destroyers, 1 carrier, and 2,000 of Earth's finest Marines. It seemed like a lot when they left Sol. Now it looked tiny compared to the massive enemy force. The swarm ships were huge, black things that looked like metal insects. They moved in perfect formation, each one protecting the others. Their weapons were unlike anything Kim had seen before. They fired beams of pure energy that could cut through the strongest armor like paper. "Captain," the alien, "defensive fleet is falling back," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Yoon Sujin. "They have lost half their ships." Kim watched the blue and silver Valari vessels retreat. They moved carefully, trying to preserve their remaining forces. It was smart tactical thinking, but it would not win this battle. The swarm was too strong. "And too many. Sir, we are getting a communication from the lead alien ship," said his communications officer. "Put it through." The main screen flickered, and Kim saw his first alien. Commander Lisa was tall and thin with blue skin and 4 arms. Her large black eyes looked tired and afraid. When she spoke, the translation software made her voice sound hollow. "Human vessel, this is Commander Lisa. I must thank you for coming to our aid. However, I fear your small force cannot change the outcome of this battle. You should retreat while you still can." Kim studied the tactical display. The alien commander was right about the odds. The swarm had over 200 ships. The humans had 4. Any sane military commander would withdraw and look for a better opportunity. Kim was not interested in being sane. "Commander Lisa, this is Captain Kim of the United Earth Navy. We came here to help, and that is what we are going to do. Please stand by." He cut the communication and turned to his crew. "All hands, battle stations, signal the fleet. We are going in." "Sir, our orders were to provide limited assistance," his executive officer said carefully. "Command did not authorize a full engagement." Kim smiled coldly. "Command is not here. We are. And I did not come all this way to watch aliens die while we run away." The human ships changed course, accelerating toward the enemy formation. Kim could see the confusion on the alien command frequencies. The Valari could not understand why 4 small ships would attack such a large force. They were about to learn something about human nature. "Launch all fighters," Kim ordered. "Tell Captain Leon the Defiant to begin his run. Colonel Yoon, prepare your Marines for boarding operations." "Boarding operations, sir?" his tactical officer asked. "Against those ships?" Kim nodded. "The aliens said their weapons cannot penetrate the enemy hulls, so we get inside and fight them ship to ship." The human fighter craft launched from their carrier, tiny metal wasps buzzing toward the giant swarm vessels. The enemy responded with defensive fire, but the human pilots were ready for it. They had trained for this kind of battle their entire lives. Captain Lee Ji-won commanded the destroyer UES Defiant. He was Kim's oldest friend and his most trusted officer. When the battle plan called for someone to ram a swarm dreadnought, Lee had volunteered immediately. "All crew to escape pods," Lee announced over his ship's communications. "We have 2 minutes to evacuation." His crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had drilled for this scenario many times. Losing your ship was always a possibility in space combat, but humans had learned to make even defeat useful. The Defiant accelerated toward the largest enemy vessel, its engines pushed far beyond safe limits. The ship's hull began to glow red from the heat, but it held together. Human engineering was built to take punishment. Commander Lisa watched in horror as the human ship crashed into the swarm dreadnought at incredible speed. The explosion tore a hole in the enemy formation and destroyed 2 smaller vessels. She had never seen such a thing. No civilized race would sacrifice an entire starship just to damage the enemy. "Did they all die?" she asked her science officer. "No, Commander. I detect escape pods. The human crew evacuated before impact." "They planned this," Lisa whispered. "They built their ship to be used as a weapon." Meanwhile, Colonel Yoon Hyuk was leading his Marines toward the damaged swarm ships. The human boarding craft were small and fast, designed to get troops inside enemy vessels. The Marines wore heavy armor and carried weapons that could function in any environment. "Remember, boys and girls," Yoon said over the radio, "we do not know what is inside these ships. Could be robots, could be aliens, could be something worse. Stay alert and keep moving." The first boarding craft attached to a swarm vessel's hull. Marine engineers began cutting through the alien armor with plasma torches. The metal was incredibly hard, but human tools were designed to cut through anything. Inside the swarm ship, the Marines found something that made their skin crawl. The corridors were filled with a poisonous fog that would kill most species in seconds. Strange machines crawled along the walls like metal spiders. The air itself seemed to twist and bend in impossible ways. The Marines adapted. They always did. They sealed their armor, switched to internal air supplies, and moved forward. Some of them got sick from the alien environment, but they kept fighting anyway. That was what humans did. Captain Kim watched his people work and felt proud. The Valari had asked for help against an impossible enemy. Every other galactic race had refused or retreated. Only the humans had answered the call. "Sir, we are getting damage reports from all ships," Lieutenant Yoon reported. "The Defiant is gone, the Valiant has lost engines, and we are down to 60% combat effectiveness." Kim nodded. In 2 hours of combat, the humans had lost 1 ship and taken heavy damage, but they had also destroyed 5 enemy vessels and crippled 3 more. The swarm was starting to adjust its formations to account for human tactics. "Signal the Valari fleet," Kim ordered. "Tell them to form up on our position. We are going to show them how humans fight a real battle." "Commander," Lisa received the message and felt a chill run through her body. She was beginning to understand that asking the humans for help had consequences she never considered. These beings did not fight the way civilized species fought. They did not try to preserve life or minimize destruction. They fought to win, no matter what the cost. The battle continued, and with each passing hour, Lisa regretted her decision more. The humans were saving her people, but they were also changing everything she thought she knew about warfare. The Deathworlders had come to help. Now everyone would have to live with what that meant. Sergeant Major Kang Ji-hoon checked his equipment one last time before stepping into the boarding craft. His mission was simple in concept, but insane in execution. He needed to get inside the main swarm hive ship, find their central computer, and plant a device that would destroy them all from the inside. No one expected him to survive. That was fine with Ji-hoon. He had volunteered for impossible missions before. The hive ship was massive, bigger than any human vessel ever built. It stretched for kilometers through space, covered in black armor that seemed to absorb light itself. Weapons lined its hull like the spines of some giant creature. Getting inside would be the easy part. Staying alive long enough to complete the mission would be something else. "Remember, Sergeant," Captain Kim said over the radio, "you just need to reach the central core and activate the device. Do not try to be a hero." Ji-hoon smiled inside his helmet. Too late for that, sir. Hero is part of the job description. His boarding craft detached from the carrier and accelerated toward the hive ship. The small vessel was packed with experimental equipment and enough explosives to level a city block. If the mission failed, Ji-hoon had orders to detonate everything and take as much of the enemy with him as possible. The craft's sensors showed dozens of defensive weapons tracking his approach. The swarm was not going to let him land easily, but Ji-hoon had learned to fly in Earth's atmosphere where everything tried to kill you. Alien space combat was just another day at the office. He twisted the craft through a maze of energy beams, using debris from destroyed ships as cover. The hive. Ship's weapons were powerful but slow to track small, fast targets. Ji-hoon had trained against human pilots, who were much more unpredictable than any machine. The boarding craft slammed into the hive ship's hull with enough force to crack the alien armor. Ji-hoon was already moving before the ship stopped shaking. He grabbed his gear and started cutting through the hull with a plasma torch. Meanwhile, Admiral Park Min-ji was coordinating the main fleet action from her flagship. She watched the tactical display as her ships engaged the swarm in running battles across the system. The human vessels were outnumbered 10-1, but they were winning anyway. The secret was adaptation. Every time the swarm adjusted their tactics, the humans changed theirs faster. When the enemy started targeting engines, the humans started using damaged ships as missile platforms. When the swarm concentrated their fire, the humans scattered and attacked from multiple directions. "Admiral, the Valari are requesting orders," reported her communications officer. "Their remaining ships are asking how they can help." Park studied the alien formations. The Valari ships were advanced and well-armed, but their crews fought like they were afraid to die. They pulled back when they took damage, tried to preserve their vessels at all costs, and always looked for the safest tactical option. "Tell them to stay back and provide covering fire," Park ordered. "Let them see how this is really done." Captain Cho Sana was leading a squadron of destroyers against a cluster of swarm cruisers. Her ship, the Relentless, had lost half its armor and was venting atmosphere from 3 hull breaches. Any sane commander would withdraw for repairs. Cho pushed her engines to maximum power and dove straight into the enemy formation. "All weapons, continuous fire," she ordered. "Target the lead ship's reactor core. We are going to gut them." Her crew worked with the smooth efficiency of people who had trained together for years. They had practiced this maneuver in the asteroid fields of Seoul, where a single mistake meant death. Fighting aliens in open space was almost relaxing by comparison. The Relentless tore through the swarm formation like a knife, her weapons carving deep wounds in enemy hulls. When her main guns overheated, Cho switched to missiles. When the missiles ran out, she used the ship's point defense systems. Human vessels were designed to keep fighting even when they were falling apart. Back on the hive ship, Ji-hoon was learning just how alien his enemies really were. The corridors were filled with a thick, gray fog that his sensors said was toxic to every known form of life. Strange machines crawled along the walls, their purpose unknown but clearly hostile. The air itself seemed wrong, as if reality was slightly broken inside the ship. Ji-hoon adapted. He always did. When his respirator started failing from the toxic atmosphere, he switched to emergency oxygen and kept moving. When the crawling machines attacked, he used his combat knife and sidearm to cut them apart. When the corridors tried to confuse him with impossible geometry, he used his compass and kept track of his direction by counting steps. "Status report, Sergeant," Captain Kim called over the radio. "I am inside and moving toward the core," Ji-hoon reported. "This place is designed to kill anything that breathes. Good thing I am too stubborn to die." He moved deeper into the ship, following the schematics that Dr. Bae So-young had provided. The human xenobiologist had studied the swarms technology and identified the most likely location for their central computer. It was deep in the ship's heart, protected by layers of armor and defensive systems. Dr. Bae was currently aboard the Valari command ship, working with their scientists to understand the enemy. What she found disturbed her more than the toxic atmosphere or crawling machines. "The swarm is not just a weapon," she explained to Commander Lisa. "It is a philosophy. They believe that all organic life is inefficient and should be eliminated. They do not conquer worlds. They sterilize them." Lisa felt her skin grow cold. "How long have they been doing this?" "Our analysis suggests several million years. They have destroyed entire galactic regions. Your Confederation is just the latest. Target! And the humans can stop them. Dr. Bay looked out at the battle raging beyond the ship's windows. Human vessels were dying in the void, but they were taking the enemy with them. For every human ship destroyed, 3 swarm vessels went. Dark, humans do not know how to quit, she said simply. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We learned to fight everything, including things that should be impossible to fight. The swarm thinks it is unstoppable because it has never met anything stupid enough to try. Ji-hoon reached the hive ship's central core and stopped in amazement. The chamber was huge, filled with machinery that hurt to look at directly. At the center was something that might have been a computer or might have been a living creature. It pulsed with dark energy and seemed to whisper in languages that had never existed. He planted the electromagnetic pulse device exactly as Dr. Bay had instructed and started the countdown. The device would send a signal through the swarm's network, overloading every ship simultaneously. It was a brilliant plan with one small problem. The device needed to be manually activated, and the activation would kill whoever was standing next to it. Ji-hoon had known this from the beginning. So had Captain Kim, Admiral Park, and everyone else in the human command structure. They had sent him anyway because the mission was more important than any individual life. This was the difference between humans and civilized species. The Valari would never sacrifice one of their people for a military objective. They valued every life and tried to find solutions that saved everyone. Humans understood that sometimes you had to choose between bad and worse. Ji-hoon would die, but his death would save billions of other lives. It was a trade he was willing to make. Device is armed and ready, he reported. Beginning final countdown. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Kim listened to his old friend prepare to die. It never got easier, but it was part of the job. Human commanders learned to make hard choices early in their careers. Understood, Sergeant. It has been an honor serving with you. Likewise, sir. Tell my wife I kept my promise. The countdown reached 0, and Sergeant Major Kang Ji-hoon activated the device that would change the course of galactic history. The electromagnetic pulse spread through the swarm network like wildfire. One by one, the black ships began to shut down, their weapons going silent and their engines dying. But Sergeant Major Kang Ji-hoon was still alive. He stood in the hive, ship's core chamber, staring at the device that should have killed him. The massive alien computer was flickering and sparking, clearly damaged but not destroyed. Around him, the crawling machines had stopped moving and the toxic fog was starting. To clear. Sir, I am reading something impossible, he reported over the radio. The pulse did not destroy the ship. It shut down their defenses. I think I can take control of this thing. Captain Kim could barely believe what he was hearing. Say again, Sergeant? The swarm ships are not just weapons, sir. They are tools. And tools can be used by whoever is smart enough to figure them out. Ji-hoon was already moving, following his instincts and his training. He had spent his entire life learning to use enemy equipment against them. Captured rifles, stolen vehicles, repurposed explosives. It was all the same principle. Find the controls, figure out how they work, and turn them to your advantage. The hive ship's computer was unlike anything built by humans, but it still followed logical patterns. Ji-hoon began connecting his portable interface to the alien systems, using techniques that Dr. Bay had taught him. Slowly, carefully, he started to understand how the swarm technology worked. Meanwhile, Admiral Park Minji was discovering that the battle had taken an unexpected turn. The disabled swarm ships were not exploding or self-destructing. They were just floating in space, dead but intact. Her tactical officer was already running scans on the nearest vessels. Admiral, these ships are filled with technology we have never seen before, the officer reported. Advanced manufacturing systems, weapon designs, propulsion technology that is centuries ahead of anything we have. Park smiled grimly. The humans had come to help the Valari fight off an invasion. Now they had captured the most advanced alien technology in the galaxy. The balance of power was about to shift in ways no one had expected. Signal the fleet, she ordered. Begin salvage operations. I want boarding parties on every disabled ship. Anything useful gets transferred to our vessels immediately. Lieutenant Oh Tae-hyung was part of the engineering team that boarded the first captured swarm cruiser. What he found inside made his hands shake with excitement. The ship's manufacturing systems could build materials that existed only in theory in human science textbooks. The weapons used principles that human physicists had dreamed about but never achieved. "Sir, we need to get this technology back to Earth," he reported to his captain. "With these manufacturing systems, we could build ships that are 10 times more advanced than anything we have." But O was not content to just study the alien technology. Like most humans, he wanted to improve it. He began making small modifications to the swarm systems, combining human engineering principles with alien capabilities. The results were beyond anything either species had achieved alone. Within hours, the human fleet was transforming. Ships that had been damaged in the battle were being repaired with swarm technology. Weapons systems were being upgraded with alien components. The small expeditionary force was becoming something new and terrifying. Commander Lisa watched this transformation. With growing alarm, she had called the humans for help against the swarm, but now she was not sure which species frightened her more. "They are not just using the technology," her science officer reported. "They are improving it. The weapon modifications they have made increase efficiency by 40%. Their engine upgrades will make their ships faster than anything in our fleet." Lisa felt sick. The humans were not content to simply defeat the swarm. They were absorbing everything useful about their enemies and making it better. It was like watching a virus adapt and evolve in real time. Captain Kim received a communication from Earth, command that confirmed her worst fears. Admiral Chang Woo-jin, the head of Earth's military forces, was sending reinforcements. Not just a few ships, but entire battle fleets. The humans had decided that the swarm was too dangerous to exist. "Captain Kim, your mission parameters have changed," Admiral Chang announced over the long-range communication system. "Earth Command has classified the Void Swarm as an extinction-level threat. You are authorized to pursue and destroy all swarm forces throughout the galaxy." Kim felt his pulse quicken. "Sir, that could take years, decades even. Then we will take decades. The swarm has existed for millions of years, destroying civilizations across the galaxy. That ends now. We are going to hunt down every ship, every base, every trace of their technology. When we are finished, the swarm will be nothing but a bad memory." This was what Commander Lisa had feared most. The humans were not going to be satisfied with defensive victory. They had studied the swarm, learned their history, and decided that such an enemy could not be allowed to exist anywhere in the universe. Dr. Bai So-young had been working with the Valari scientists to understand the full scope of the swarm threat. What they had discovered was sobering. The mechanical entities had consumed entire spiral arms of the galaxy, leaving nothing behind but dead systems and empty space. "They reproduce by converting organic matter into more of themselves," she explained, to the combined alien and human command staff. "Every world they conquer becomes a factory for building more ships. Left unchecked, they will eventually consume all life in the galaxy. So we do not leave them unchecked," Admiral Park said simply. "We track down every factory, every base, every ship. We destroy their ability to reproduce, and then we destroy them." The Valari officers looked horrified at the scope of what the humans were proposing. It would require a military campaign spanning thousands of light years and lasting for generations. No civilized species had ever attempted something so ambitious. The cost would be enormous, Commander Lisa protested. Millions of ships, billions of lives. Surely there must be a more peaceful solution. Park looked at her with something that might have been pity. "Commander, we have studied your people's history. For 3,000 years, the Valari have solved problems through negotiation and compromise. It is an admirable philosophy, but some enemies cannot be negotiated with." She gestured toward the tactical display, which showed the locations of known swarm bases throughout the galaxy. There were hundreds of them, spread across dozens of star systems. "The swarm does not want territory or resources," Park continued. "They want to eliminate all organic life. There is no middle ground, no compromise position. Either they exist or we do. The humans have chosen to exist." Ji-hoon's voice crackled over the communication system from the captured hive ship. "Admiral, I have full control of this vessel. The swarm's databases contain locations of every base and factory in their network. I can give you a complete target list." Park smiled coldly. "Excellent work, Sergeant. Transmit all data to the fleet. We have a galaxy to clean up." "Commander," Lisa realized that she had made a terrible mistake. She had asked the Deathworlders for help, and they had given it. But their idea of help was nothing like what she had expected. the humans did not solve problems. They eliminated them. The Void. Swarm had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years. Now they were about to learn what happened when you threatened a species that had survived on a world where everything tried to kill them. The humans were going to make the swarm extinct, and after that, the galaxy would have to learn to live. With the species that had made such total victory possible, the war was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. 6 months after the first battle at Thessian Prime, the Void Swarm ceased to exist. The final swarm factory was destroyed by Captain Cho Sana and her squadron in the dead system of Keth 7. She watched the massive installation collapse into molten metal and felt no satisfaction, only the grim completion of a necessary task. "That's the last one on the list," she reported to Admiral Park. "All swarm manufacturing capabilities have been eliminated." The list had been long: 47 star systems, hundreds of installations, thousands of ships. The humans had hunted them all down with the methodical precision of exterminators. When the swarm tried to hide, the humans found them. When they tried to run, the humans followed. When they tried to fight, the humans destroyed them. The campaign had cost the human fleet 60% of its ships and 40% of its personnel. These were losses that would end any civilized military operation. The humans treated them as acceptable operating expenses. Admiral Park Minji stood on the bridge of her flagship, now rebuilt with hybrid human swarm technology. The vessel was twice as powerful as when she had left Earth, armed with weapons that could crack planets and powered by engines that bent space itself. Around her, the surviving ships of the Expeditionary Force showed similar improvements. "Admiral, we are receiving a priority communication from Earth Command," her communications officer reported. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Admiral Chang Woo-jin in his office on Luna Base. Behind him, through the great windows, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. It looked peaceful and innocent, nothing like the death world that had produced humanity. "Admiral Park, congratulations on the successful completion of Operation Extinction," Chang said. "Your performance has exceeded all expectations." Park nodded. "Thank you, sir. The swarm threat has been permanently eliminated. All manufacturing facilities destroyed, all ships accounted for, all data cores captured and analyzed." "And the technology transfer?" "Complete. Our engineering teams have successfully integrated swarm manufacturing systems with human designs. The first generation of hybrid vessels should be ready for service within the year." Chang smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "Excellent. The galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place." On the Volari homeworld, Commander Lysa was meeting with the representatives of 12 species. The Confederation Council had called an emergency session to discuss the implications of what the humans had done. The debate had been going on for days without resolution. "The humans have violated every principle of civilized warfare," declared Ambassador Vex of the Zenthari Empire. "They pursued total extermination without attempting negotiation or peaceful resolution." "The swarm could not be negotiated with," Lisa replied wearily. She had been defending the human actions for weeks, though she was not sure why. "They were an existential threat to all organic life." "That does not justify genocide," insisted Senator Krell of the Crystal Collective. "There might have been another way." Lysa looked around the council chamber at the assembled aliens. These were the most advanced species in the galaxy, beings of wisdom and compassion who had built a civilization based on peaceful cooperation. None of them understood what they had witnessed. "What would you have done?" she asked. The swarm had been destroying civilizations for millions of years. They showed no mercy, accepted no surrender, offered no compromise. The humans did what we could not. They ended the threat forever. The council erupted in angry voices, each species arguing their position. Some supported the humans as necessary saviors, others condemned them as dangerous barbarians. All of them were afraid of what came next. Dr. Bae So-young was in her laboratory, aboard the research station that the humans had established in former swarm territory. The facility was staffed by volunteers who would spend their lives monitoring the dead systems, watching for any sign of the enemy's return. She was analyzing the final batch of swarm data cores when she made a discovery that changed everything. Hidden in the deepest files was information about the swarm's origins. They had not always been mechanical entities. Millions of years ago, they had been organic beings, not unlike the current galactic species. But they had faced their own extinction. threat, something so terrible that they had chosen to abandon their biological nature entirely. They had uploaded their consciousness into machines and dedicated their existence to preventing the same fate from befalling others. In their twisted logic, eliminating all organic life was the only way to save it from suffering. Bay stare.